Hey everyone, thanks for coming back for this week's quick tip. It's been a little while, so I'm excited to get to do this again, and I'm excited about the little chemistry experiment we have going on here. What I want to talk about today is brining. What is a brine? Well, a brine is basically a saltwater solution, and you use it to submerge meat, protein, specifically those that are really, really lean, that do not have a lot of fat or marbling, a lot of inner musculature. So things like pork loins, thinly cut pork chops, shrimp don't have a lot of fat, turkey. Those are the types of proteins that you would want to brine. And what are you doing when you brine something? Well, you're submerging it in liquid and giving it a lot of seasoning and flavor, right? No, wrong. That's not what you're doing when you're brining something. What you're doing when you submerge a turkey, for example, in a brine, is you are allowing it to denature, allowing the proteins to break down and the salt to be absorbed into the meat, making it juicy. Something that a ribeye or prime rib doesn't need because of all that inner musculature, all that marbling. It gets all its juiciness from that fat when it cooks. Things like turkey, they need a little help. And a brine is a great way to do it, and they're not hard to do. You just kind of have to pay attention to really three questions. What are we brining? How long are we brining it for? And how much salt and water do we need? Those three things. So we've covered what we're brining, whether it be a turkey, shrimp, pork loin. Lean meat, lean protein is what's being brined. That's number one. How long are we brining it for? Because believe it or not, if you submerge anything, turkey, in a brine solution for too long, it's going to break down too much and just be mushy. Just a mushy mess that will not cook properly. It will not taste good. So you really want to pay attention to how long you brine something for. So a good rule of thumb to always remember, 1 hour per pound. That's about it. So if you've got a 19-pound turkey, first of all, you better be feeding a lot of people because that's a huge turkey. You need 19 hours for it to brine overnight. Great way to do it. Then number three, how much solution do you need? How much salt? How much water? What's a good ratio? Obviously, when you make something like this and you add salt to water, if you were to taste it, it should be inedible. It should be disgusting to us. But a turkey or shrimp or pork, it needs a lot of salt. It needs to really absorb a lot, and it requires a lot in order for the breakdown process of the proteins to take place. On the flip side to that coin, you can put too much salt, and then it, again, is inedible after it's cooked because it's way overdone and way too mushy. So another rule of thumb is 1 tablespoon of salt for every cup of water. And you need enough water to fully submerge whatever it is that you are going to brine. I have this little setup right here. I'm going to make a brine for some pork loins. I've got 2 pounds worth of pork loins. So I really just I have 2.5 cups of water, warm water, and a little over 2 tablespoons of sea salt. I do not recommend using iodized table salt to make your brine. You should really cook with kosher salt, sea salt, because of the way it dissolves in water. If you add any salt to liquid and stir it, it's going to dissolve, sure. But sea salt, kosher salt, it dissolves a lot faster and it's much more even throughout the liquid. If you don't really believe me, try it. Get some iodized table salt and pour it into a bowl of water, and then take some sea salt and pour it into a bowl of water and stir them and watch which one dissolves faster. And you always want to dissolve your salt first. So take my sea salt, and I'm adding this to my water, and I'm just going to stir it until it's dissolved. And again, it doesn't take long for sea salt to dissolve in warm water. I am going to add some seasonings just to let it soak in as the pork loins are brining. So I've got some herbs and spices here, which it helps with flavor. You're really not, you're not marinating when you're brining. You are brining, you're not marinating. But some herbs and spice, it helps. It adds to flavor. So I'm adding about 1.5 tablespoons, and this is really a mixture of basil, rosemary, thyme, some onion powder, and a little sage, and that's all. And depending on what you're going to brine, I always recommend adding some seasoning and adding some other liquids. Some vinegars are great. Sweeter, spicier, however you prefer. For pork, apple and pork kind of go really well together. So I'm adding to this 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. And this is really between the acidity in the vinegar, the salt in the water, and that little tangy flavor from that apple cider makes some great flavors and fabulous aromas. And that's it. The salt dissolved that quickly, and as soon as the salt's dissolved, you can add the rest of your liquid. I'm going to take this, pour it in a gallon bag, put the pork loins in here, seal it up, and put it in the fridge for about 2 hours, because they're 2 pounds total, so about 2 hours. And that's it. I'm done. The last thing you have to do after you brine for whatever amount of time you're doing, and remember, 1 hour a pound, take it out of the refrigerator, get it out of the brining solution, and then thoroughly rinse it off. Well, that's going to get rid of the brine. No, it's not. It's going to get rid of all the excess salt and seasoning that's all over it. But I promise you, all that salt that it is submerged in for the next couple of hours, 19-pound turkey, 19 hours, is going to be absorbed in, and the proteins are going to be broken down. You want to get the excess off. Rinse it off thoroughly, pat it dry, and then marinate it, season it, or cook it however you're going to do it. And that's it. That's a brine. How to do it? Salt, water, and some seasoning. How long to do it? 1 hour a pound. And how much salt to add? 1 tablespoon per cup of water. And the point is not to marinate the meat, it's to break down the proteins and tenderize it and make what could be a really, really dry meal nice and juicy. Turkey can always use a little help. Lean pork chops can always use a little help. There is no fat in shrimp. They can use help to keep them from drying out. And brining will do it. That's it, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be cooking soon. Hope to see you again. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with all your friends. Take care. Bye-bye.